Hello, welcome to Beyond the Treatment Tables marketing discussion. I'm Stephanie Telebasa, your host. Hi, Andrew. Good to see familiar faces. Just like Andrew did, can everyone turn their cameras on? Please stay on mute for the call. If you have questions, we're going to use the chat and then I will invite you to come up. Today we have Janae Rose, our marketing expert. She is the owner of Social Compass Management, which is a social media agency. And to start, I'm going to put a prompt in the chat. And if anyone would like to come off mute and answer, you can. So I want to know the name of your practice and what patient population do you work in? So what is your niche, your specialty, and what's your main goal for wanting to learn social media? Why are you here today? While you're thinking of a response, just a reminder, you're going to get a feedback survey from us later, and I do read every response. If anyone has been here since January, you know that I have changed the format and really listened to exactly what everyone wants out of this monthly discussion. Okay. For anyone, hi, Natasha. Good to see repeats here. Again, for anyone who's just entering, I'm Stephanie, the owner of House of Physical Therapy in New York City, and we have our guest expert, Janae. I know that we have a mix of practice owners, therapists, and admin on the call. So depending on who's running the social media or helping with social media, I want to hear from all of you. What are you looking to learn? Because this is going to be an interactive session. We don't have a PowerPoint planned. So I really want to make sure that you get the most out of it. Okay. So musculoskeletal, direct access.
Stephanie, I got a question.
Yes.
Jenna, thank you very much for taking your time to do this. I'm going to pull ahead one of our traction meeting rocks that just kind of came up today. So we were talking about Google reviews for clinical practices, and we said, does it really matter the amount, the actual number of Google reviews you get, or is it more about the responses? And I even came up with I'd like you to talk about that. But then the other question that I would have is there also what I called Google fatigue by our providers, as well as by the clients that we serve? So if you could speak on those three things, that'd be great.
I love that. Janae, why don't you give a quick intro
Okay.
and then set the frame for us.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Janae. I am a social media agency owner. I have been in this space for 8 years, believe it or not. And I have actually, Stephanie, we have worked together across 2 of my social media businesses over the last 3 years, I believe. So super excited to be here and help out your community. I have about 150,000 followers over on Instagram, about 10,000 on TikTok. And essentially we create content, edit content, manage content across all different types of businesses, not just physical therapists, although we have a couple of physical therapy clients. And so what I'm going to be kind of walking you guys through today is really getting a grasp on not only how social media has changed, but what's working in this space right now and some of the recommendations that I would have for you guys on how to really adapt and get more eyes on your business, because as hopefully you are aware, social media is now a part of every industry, and it's such a critical way to get people's eyes on your business without having to pay for ads, without needing to have a super fancy or expensive website. And we call that organic marketing. And the reach and the potential of lead generation from social media is honestly unmatched from really any other platform. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have and make this as tangible and specific as possible, because I want y'all to walk away with some good action steps and feeling a little bit more confident, because I know social media can be a little overwhelming and there's just a lot of variables that come into play. So we're going to focus on some of the most important today.
Cool. Love it. Can you give me, so you've been in the social media space for over 5 years, I think 6 or 7 years from what I remember. How has it changed as far as brick and mortar businesses getting involved with social media marketing now?
I mean, literally yesterday I was scrolling my feed and all I was seeing was brick and mortar businesses, from restaurants, from patient centers, like, for example, we have a lot of plastic surgeon clients that you might not think that they would need to be on social media. Absolutely a huge lead generator for them, from med spas to physical therapy locations, all the way, honestly, to like car salesmen is something huge that I was seeing yesterday. So it really runs the gamut of what type of brick and mortar. Literally every type of niche and every type of industry is using social media. And one of the ways that they're doing that is like creating content that is specific to their ideal patient or their ideal customer, to either inspire, to educate, to answer questions, to share reviews, and positive feedback. And also, a really big word you're going to hear today is entertain. That is something that's so important, is like sharing the kind of mission and the philosophy and the personality of your business. You might also reference that as like your brand voice, because it's not just about like the aftermath of someone coming in because maybe they're post-op, right? They need to be there and they didn't really have a choice in the matter. What you want to do is get ahead of that, so that when that situation comes up, you're the first person that they think of. So it's really about planting the seed as well. And yeah, think about like if you were to put up a billboard on the side of a freeway, like you might get a lot of eyes, but you can put up a billboard on the side of a social media freeway literally every day and it costs you nothing. So that's really like, I think, where social media is going and how it's really impacting your space. I hope that answered some of the question.
No, I think that's great. Let's start with Darren's question about Google reviews. So how do you feel about collecting Google reviews, asking your employees to constantly ask for testimonials?
Yeah, I think testimonials and proof of your work is incredible. I wouldn't just stop at Google reviews. I do think that's great, right? Because it has a little bit of that SEO already built in. And if that is where you feel like your patient or your client base is looking for proof, absolutely use those. I know that we've also integrated those into content, right? And so I know that we've done that for House of Physical Therapy, and a way that we've done that is like utilizing literally the screenshots or taking quotes from those Google reviews and putting them into content, whether it's on the screen, whether it is in a carousel that gets pinned to the top of the profile that says like, you know, what our clients think of us or what our clients have to say, and using that as a way to build trust. I wouldn't necessarily just stop at Google. I would be taking that and finding other ways to utilize that. If you're sending emails, if you're posting on social, right? Those are some ways that you can also incorporate that. I don't think too much of a testimonial or too many reviews is a bad thing ever, because again, it just speaks to the longevity of your business or the reach or the impact. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of you already have like maybe a little cute frame at your entryway of like, leave us a review, like it helps our small business. And I think it's a lot about how you ask. But yeah, utilizing proof and things that we call like screenshotable, things that you can actually take as an image and integrate into other formats is really, really helpful.
Two things that you hit on is the fact that those Google reviews, whatever the patient is saying, becomes keywords in search. So if the patient is saying, I was able to run after a knee injury, and someone is searching for knee pain with running, then that's going to populate. I know that your responses do not count, so you can't stuff keywords in your thank you response. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is screenshotting versus copying it into like a beautiful template on Canva. What do you prefer?
Screenshot all the way, because you can't fake it. You can't make it up, right? It's real. If you are screenshotting, use your phone. Open your Google reviews on your phone. You can click these two buttons and take a screenshot, and then you can crop it from there. What you don't want to do is like have a big browser open on your computer and it's a really long screenshot. And then when you drop the screenshot into Canva or when you upload it to your stories, it becomes illegible. It's too hard to read. It's too small. So thinking about social media, it's always this angle and it's always this, like essentially this size, if that makes sense, right? So when you screenshot from your phone, it's immediately going to transfer well when you're posting on social media, because people are watching social, looking at content on their phone, not their computer.
Awesome. The other part of Darren's question was frequency. So I don't know if you know about Google reviews as far as, is it better to get 100 in 1 week and do a hard push, like a challenge in the office? Morgan, I'm looking at you. Or is it better to spread them out and paste a couple reviews each week so that Google's always getting that positive hit?
That's exactly what I was going to recommend. I think consistency, longevity is going to be key. It just creates a little bit more of a sustainable impact rather than just flooding it. Also, again, like Google is its own beast, but I would be concerned about kind of flooding that and that raising some sort of flag as like if it's spam, for example, because there are bots and things like, for example, Instagram has if you leave more than 100 comments in an hour, Instagram knows and they can block your action. They feel like it's spam, it's too fast, right? So those are things I think, taking into consideration. You always want these platforms to feel like it's human, right? Same thing with your content. You want it to feel like it's a human, which is why it's okay to have a typo. It's okay to be a little silly. It's okay to, go outside your comfort zone when it comes to content and things like that. It doesn't always need to be so perfectly polished, even though that's always kind of our frame, right? Of like, oh, well, I'm running a business. I want people to take us seriously. You're an expert. You have your degrees, you have your brick and mortar, you have all of those things that are already polished and wonderful. When it comes to something like social, you want it to be a little bit more fluid. It'd be the same thing of like, if all of your reviews say the same thing, it's going to raise a red flag for the customer or the patient reading it, right? Like if they all feel too similar, let's say again, random example, but like, oh, the number 2 on the menu is the best thing I've ever eaten. And that's the same thing that every single person said. I get a little suspicious.
Darren, we're going to do an exercise of how to take your patient's language and turn it into a piece of content. So if you could grab an actual review from your practice and copy and paste it into the chat, we'll come back to that and like actually show you how to flip it and turn it into a piece of content. Okay, let's see. The number one question that I got leading up to this was, what if I'm limited on time, right? Because we're actually running the business. If I'm limited on time and I only have 20 minutes a week, what's the thing that I need to focus on?
20 minutes. Okay. I hope you're good with that.
Sorry to give you that limit. That was from someone who's like, I'm so tired. Like, I do not want to do anything after work.
Yeah, that's great. No, I totally understand. Again, like we work with professionals and business owners, and a lot of them have a brick and mortar location and they have that same situation, right? So what I would suggest is if you can have an assistant, an intern, someone in your world who's local to you come in and follow you around the office. Okay, that honestly would be the best way to capture a lot of content that can be clipped up and utilized in different ways. I know that might not be perfect for everyone, but that's a start. If you don't have anyone, set up your phone on a tripod. This is like one of the smallest but most important things I'm going to say today. Always, always, always wipe your camera before you set up, whether it's front or back, wipe it because you're touching it and you don't know it, and it makes the content look really poor quality. Anytime you can turn off overhead lights and use natural light, amazing. Again, not always the option, but cleaning your phone will go a long way. I promise you, you do not need to get crazy with equipment. But yeah, set up your phone on a tripod and have a patient that you're super friendly with, or a friend or a family member, and film that session. Film everything you do, because that is going to be really easy to create tutorial-based content. It's also proof, right? That's something you could clip up, put with a trending audio, and add your Google reviews, 3 screenshots on top of that, right? So like there's a lot of ways that you can utilize that content that's entertaining and it's watchable, but it doesn't take a huge lift on your time. So that would be like the first thing I would suggest. Is we call this B-roll, or like behind the scenes content or footage. And that's always going to be like the go-to if you're maxed out on time. And also, if you do have someone who can kind of follow you around, mic yourself up or have them close to you and talk through what you're doing, and like have that audio. Because if you can utilize that audio, again, that creates essentially like a talking head where we can use the raw audio.
What about focusing on stories versus posts versus videos? Where are we spending our time?
For sure. So stories are really for a community that you already have, right? So they essentially say like your stories are your closest followers. So those are the people, if you already have some people in your community, in your audience, You can post stories to stay kind of in touch with them. Things like promotions are great. Things like, oh my gosh, I just spilled my coffee all over my desk, right? Like whatever you're kind of going through, that's a really easy,
Relatable.
yeah, super relatable. And don't spend a lot of time, like make it fun, make it easy. I snapped a selfie right before we got on this and I said, oh, I'm about to teach a class. And I just put it up in my stories. They expire, okay? Like they're pretty much the lowest priority on the totem pole when it comes to growing an audience, when it comes to generating leads. Stories are not, they don't necessarily have the same type of algorithm behind them as video content or in feed posts. So video is going to be your number one, right? I mean, Instagram has morphed into TikTok. So short form video content is really what gets the most engagement, the most views. And then your secondary underneath that when it comes to in feed content would be, again, I hesitate to say this because I think Canva and carousels and statics can be a little bit stiff, and they can also take a long time. You like finicky around with them, and people try to make them perfect. And what I see a lot in this industry or this space specifically when it comes to Canva or like static content is that it's really focused on promotion, right? It's like, hey, we have spots available, or we're doing this discount or something like that, again, which is fine, but it's not shareable. So when you're talking about social media, that probably isn't going to reach anyone outside of your existing audience, whereas video content is going to do that heavy lifting because it's watchable and people want to be entertained, and we all have attention spans the size of a goldfish.
I'm going to have you expand on that because I think you mentioned in the beginning it has to be entertaining. So how much should be trends? Do we have to talk to the camera? Can we just not show our face and put some trending music over it? Like, what should be the spread if I'm dividing it up between different types of content?
Okay, so for your educational content, which is going to be what converts ultimately, okay, so when we think about reach, trends, because you're getting the lift of this trending song or this trending format that is going broad on the internet right now. Lots of people are essentially taking that format or that song and they're applying it to their individual niche or their use case or their business or their situation, right? And so you essentially get the lift and it's kind of pulling you up with it. Okay, so views and extra reach comes with trends. So I would say when you're starting out, trends are going to be easier usually. So I would go like 50-50, honestly, because I think that the trends are going to pull people in, but what they're really going to stay for typically is going to be that educational content. If I can follow you because you're going to teach me tips about how to improve my posture because I'm behind my desk all day, right? And that's the focal point of an individual post. Not only am I going to save that because I want to come back to it later, right? I'm going to send it to all my friends who are also complaining about their neck pain, right? So it creates a funnel. So when you think about trends and short form BTS, that's going to bring in a lot of the views. And then the back end of that funnel is like, oh, I'm learning a lot from these people. I want to, they're in my neighborhood. Okay, I'm going to go in because I'm struggling with this thing. And I tried the video and it just wasn't quite enough.
Perfect. I feel like as PTs, we always default to educate because like we want to teach, and the patient education is like, I feel super comfortable explaining this topic. And how do you feel about call to actions in the caption? Should it be, here's my website, my phone number, my email address, and, use the link to book an appointment? Like, what are we putting in the caption?
Yes. Okay. I'm definitely going to answer that. I want to speak to the first thing that you said really quickly as well, because when it comes to none of these are hard, fast rules. I know that's super annoying, but for example, I'm thinking of a pelvic floor physical therapist who we have as a client in Louisiana. And then I'm going to compare that to a plastic surgeon who we have in Beverly Hills. Okay. Their formats and their strategy are slightly different. And I think this will be a good kind of use case so you can decide what would make the most sense for you. The plastic surgeon, he is very dry. Okay, there's no trends. There's none of that, right? We do capture BTS. We do capture before and afters, and we might do a before and after that's a single static image and it's split down the middle. And on one side is the before photo and the secondary side is the after photo. And that would be a post. And we would explain in the caption, it needs a call to action, right? And then his video content, it's either behind the scenes, meaning we're just essentially sending a videographer, filming him in a surgery and utilizing that and kind of creating a little bit of education, but he is not dancing. He is not doing like, moving my mouth to lip syncing. He's not doing any of that. And his talking heads, which is 90% of his content, are pretty dry, right? So we have to prompt him. We have to pull a lot of that out of him, but that strategy may work for one of you if you're just not comfortable on camera, right? And you feel more comfortable talking, go for it, right? Because the more you do, usually quantity can help lead you to quality, if that makes sense. But micro. Do not film a 2-minute long video. Try for 30 seconds. Try making it really focused. Answer one question. Okay, that is something we do with him a lot and it works really well. Or do a comparison of trends, right? So the hook on screen, physical therapist rates, sports trends, and it's HYROX and you say 0, right? No explanation, okay? So things like that, just giving yourself opportunities. That is one strategy. And then when we have, for example, this pelvic floor physical therapist, loves being on camera, loves doing silly trends, also, is okay to kind of make light of things. And for her, we do that 50-50, right? We do the talking content, we batch a lot of that at once. And then we also will jump on a trend for her or do a BTS. So there's, you have the ability to like maneuver essentially within your strategy about what works for you. And that's something that's really important, because if you're like, I'm not dancing, absolutely not, don't do that. Right? It's not going to feel good. It's going to come off inauthentic. You're going to hate it. Okay. Backpedaling a little bit. Sorry. Anything on that stuff?
I was actually going to say, like, you couldn't have given a more perfect answer, because that was actually Jessie's question. And Jessie is a pelvic floor therapist.
Oh my gosh.
And she loves trends. So do you want to ask any follow-ups while we're on this?
No, that was really helpful. I find it hard to and this is maybe like another follow-up question, but like I don't find that I'm that creative, and like in comparison to a lot of colleagues out there, in the social media space, even PTs. So I'm just curious if you had any tips on how to kind of trigger that creativity when I feel like I don't really have many ideas.
You're probably cutting yourself short, honestly. Like, probably. What you can also do is if you see something that another professional has created and it's the only time you've seen that, you can always just credit them in the caption. Like, it takes nothing away from you, and then you can kind of lean into that and start and see if that sparks your own creativity as you're growing and kind of morphing into a content creator. But so feel free, if like you like love this thing that someone else created, just credit them, like at the end of the caption, like original video, original credit, and you can put their username. Like we absolutely will do that. For example, another way that you could do that is stitches. So like if you see, I think we've done this, for example, for physical therapist office with like a marathon, or there was like a new, I think it was like a New York Marathon, a Boston Marathon, and they are really big with a running community. So we stitched the first like 5 seconds of someone else's video, and then we had the PT respond of like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad people are finally talking about this, and they just kind of, talk about their perspective or whether they agree or disagree. And then as far as jumping your creativity, honestly, I think the exercise we're going to do that Stephanie prompted earlier will be really helpful, because the worst place to come up with ideas is your brain, usually, if that makes sense. Like just looking at a blank screen, right? Or looking at a blank piece of paper. It's like, what am I doing here? Where am I going? So instead, you always want to start with a prompt, meaning if you have those Google reviews, open those up. Or if you have patient files or patient notes, open that up. Even if you just saw a patient yesterday who had XYZ situation, use that as your prompt for the context of the video, right? So like, give me an example of a patient you saw earlier today or yesterday.
Me specifically?
Yeah, or anybody, whoever.
Oh man, they're putting me on the spot here.
Just tell me a little bit about their injury, or how long they've been seeing you, or what the situation is. 2 sentences, that's all I need.
I just had one patient come to me, but it's like a little, we deal with like private stuff. So I'm just thinking about a patient of mine who's like, a year.
You don't need to say their name. I'm not asking you to violate.
Of course, I would never say their name.
Just give me like a situation. And
No,
again, I have a
so
client who's a pelvic floor physical therapist. She has about 700,000 followers. So like, I get it. We
yeah.
still make do. So like, was it a cesarean scar section that you were like working with? You know, like give me something.
Yeah, okay. We could go with that. That's fine.
Okay. You're like, just that example. Okay, so for example, something that we've done with that is she had a patient who she was super close to, and they gave her permission to just film a clip of the massage that she was doing for that cesarean section scar. No face. We didn't know the person's name. We don't need any of that. So it was just our client massaging that scar, and we took a 5-second clip of it, and that was it. And we had her write in the caption and explain what she was doing and if she would recommend, you know, people try this at home, or like, you know, what the situation was essentially. So she gave her perspective, and then out of that we took a hook, and on screen I think it said something like, you know, if you're 3 months postpartum and your cesarean section scar doesn't look like this, there's a problem. Something like that. Okay, I might have just made that up, but like, you get where I'm going, right? So the hook on screen is a prompt. The video is a visual representation of the hook or the title. Okay, and then the caption is where we can expand a little bit. Does that make sense? Like, and this is something that her ideal client or her ideal patient, something they deal with. They're like, again, questions are great to use as starters for content as well. You could even put a question, like literally a question as a hook. I just had surgery on my knee and I don't know how to find the right PT for me. Answer that. If this is you, I'm going to give you 3 ways to find the right physical therapist. Just talking to the camera, and give 3 ways. Let me know if this is helpful, or want to book a consultation, let me know in the comments, or comment yes to book a consultation. Like, it doesn't have to be so ultra creative, if that makes sense. I want you thinking about like, what are the issues my ideal patient is dealing with? Why haven't they been able to solve that on their own? And like, get granular. Have they been, you know, I know for Stephanie, her practice's patients is like they will re-injure themselves because they tried to let the first injury just go off on its own and rest. And then 3 months later, they're like, oh, I pulled my freaking back and, you know, I was doing a deadlift and now I am in so much pain, I don't even know what to do, but I don't want to stop lifting, right? So we would take that context and we're going to use that to essentially create content ideas from. Are we getting anywhere? Is this kind of like, I know it can feel general. Again, there's not super hard, fast rules. It's like sometimes you might want to start with a hook and then go figure out the video or the format that you're going to attach that to. So that might be easier for you. Some people, like we all are always looking for content ideas on social. And we have essentially we use ClickUp as like our CRM tool. And so we have a private thread where we just send those ideas. And then once I'm going and we're ideating, because we're ideating for like, you know, 20 plus different niches. And so we're pulling from that and then we're matching it to the different niches if it works, right? So like everyone has a little bit of a different process or style. But hopefully this is giving you guys some ideas of like how you can start thinking about your creation process.
I'm going to give you a couple actual examples to go through.
Yeah.
But like, that's one of my favorite things is, so I'll sit in on the social media call with our therapist who's actually in the office, who's filming the content and running the social media side of things. And Janae will just say like, how was your week? And he just starts talking. And then the next day he's like, oh, we have ideas from, like, I just told her that I saw an ACL patient and now there's 5 ideas for that. Like he was just talking about what he did this morning. Like he didn't even realize he was feeding ideas. So I want you to see like how she flips it. So Darren put his review in the chat if you want to take a look at that.
Yeah.
And then like talk us through what you're thinking about as you put this into patient-facing marketing material.
Okay, amazing. There is, I'm thinking of this trend. There is a trend that, I don't know if you guys have seen it, I'll kind of act it out for you, but it's like coming back to work after getting a 5-star review. Have you guys seen this? And I could probably find it really fast if I look it up on TikTok. TikTok is super searchable. So if you guys ever see something and you're trying to go back and find it, I would usually go to TikTok. But essentially it's like someone walking into the office slow-mo and they have like sunglasses on and a jacket and they like throw their jacket on the floor and they take their sunglasses off and it's a specific audio that's with that. So like if you wanted to screenshot that and put it on screen, like I would just film yourself literally you would just follow the same way that everyone else has done this trend. Because a trend, essentially everyone does the same format and they just will specify what is on screen as far as their hook for most part. So that would be one way, is like to literally take a screenshot of this, and it's like on screen is POV, you get mentioned in a 5-star, like POV coming into work the next day after being named in a 5-star review. I'm not going to say Google, okay, because you know the platforms don't like that. I'm not going to go on TikTok and say the word Instagram. Like they are all in competition, so mind your P's and Q's there. And then you would kind of act that out. It might be 6 seconds. So that's one way. The secondary way is probably gonna be more applicable if you don't like trends. My twins both had sports-related injuries resulting in surgeries. Level of detail, professionalism, precision in treatment plans throughout the recoveries was incredible. Their whole staff is so compassionate, helpful, and wouldn't go anywhere else. Amazing. So what I'm probably gonna do is think about what part of this is most applicable to the rest of my ideal patients, right? So lead gen. Probably not everyone has twins. Okay, so like I could go that angle, but I may not for my first initial idea because I want it to feel a little bit more applicable. So I would look at surgeries, lateral ankle stabilization, ACL. Okay, so I would then ask myself, what's more popular, or what surgeries do I want more of, right? Darren, is it ACL, meniscus, or ankle stabilization that you feel like you guys would want more clients like that?
It doesn't matter. Either
Doesn't
one.
matter. Okay, cool. So let's go with ACL. I don't want to do another POV, so I might think of another hook starter. That's three. I'm going to give you a few. Okay, 3 things you need to think about when dealing with a meniscus repair, or when dealing with ACL/meniscus repair. And that could be a talking video where you're addressing some of the main things that people need to be thinking about. You could also go pre-surgery. So if I'm looking at essentially, how does this happen, right? So I mean, I don't know, how would something like that happen? Do they trip and fall? Do they get run over by a car? Like, what is a common way that this issue happens?
Yeah, I think that'd just be a kind of a common sports injury depending on the age of the athlete or what they're involved in.
Got it. Okay. So then you could say common sports injuries more parents need to be aware of. Right. And now I'm because this isn't about the kids, right? This is about the parent. The parent is going to find you. The parent is usually the one who's going to come in and, you know, say, my twins, these issues. So that's another direction that you could take, is like kind of specifying to the parents. Let's see, 2 surgeries. Then I might start, you know, as if 1 surgery wasn't enough. You know, when it comes to 2 surgeries, not just any physical therapy will do, right? So I'm kind of using curiosity there to like pull someone in, and then I would maybe just start talking, or maybe it's more, you know, read the caption essentially is the only thing that's underneath that. And then I can explain in the caption of like, hey, you know, 1 surgery, you might be able to get away with any type of physical therapy, you know, approach. But when it comes to multiple surgeries, this is why we are the specialists, or this is our approach and why it's different, right? And then another direction I would go is like, I think sports, right? You said sports related injury. So I think that's probably a really great broad topic that you could pull in here. Like PSA, if your kids are playing sports this summer, these are the top 5 injuries you're going to see, or these are the top 5 injuries to look out for. Or PSA, if your kids are in sports leagues, make sure that ... fill in the blank, right? And you're just giving little tips, okay? And then honestly, if you're still seeing these patients, I would go to mom and be like, your kids are amazing. Can I film part of our next session to post on social media, just me talking about some of the ligament issues that we've seen and some of the exercises? And he doesn't have to talk. I just wanted to be able to film a little piece of that to help educate our audience. People are pretty cool. If, you know, you're a small business, you're cool with your clients, also say like, it would be so helpful to our small business. Or, you know, you guys, if maybe you're a newer practice, give a discount. That's always something you can do. And I know with like again, HIPAA, you don't need to use names, you don't need to use specifics, but if they're giving you permission, usually that's okay. And I know that there are also, of course it's going to escape me, but there are specific like social media consent forms that you can find and have people sign. But yeah, what I would do is also like you could do exercise based, and this really goes for anyone, is like my three favorite exercises for sports related injuries or for ACL/meniscus repair, right? Or, on your second ACL surgery, save this for later and do these exercises 5 times every day. Super savable. I'm literally giving someone a call to action in that video. And that's just going to be you or the other PT or the kid, right, doing the exercises and you taking a clip of that, compiling them together. So lots of ideas there.
12 ideas. That was 12 ideas out of that review.
Yeah. But is that making sense? Like kind of, and again, it's not my necessarily expertise. So you guys probably hopefully have a lot more ideas of what you can do. But you can go tip focus, you can go inspiration, you can go relatable, a little bit more storytelling. So if I was going to go storytelling, I might talk about how there was twins, they both had, ACL meniscus repair, like driving the mom crazy. Like here are the things we did to get them back in the field as soon as possible while protecting the bones from the muscles from future issues. And that would be a talking video and you kind of like storytelling that a little bit. But yeah, what I didn't necessarily focus on, that you probably noticed, was the amazing, beautiful review that they left you, but you could absolutely use that in a different context, right? But like first and foremost, if I'm using this for education and for content ideas, I'm going to kind of look at the situation that the patient is in and take that and run with it. And then but you could go for treatment plans. That could be another kind of angle of like the treatment plan I'd give you if you had 2 surgeries for blank, or if you had coming off of multiple surgeries on your ACL, right? And then you can talk about, I just gave this treatment plan to twins who both had sports related injuries. And it was ACL and meniscus from football. And like I would just kind of explain a little bit and just say, if this is something you're dealing with right now, drop the muscle emoji or comment me below and I'll reach out to get you a custom plan, because we're thorough like that.
I think what we always fall into, because as PTs we live in the it depends world, so we never want to make absolute statements online. So I think what you just did in the last one of like, here's a case study, here's something I did with a patient, there's no one that can come in the comments and say, well, that's not what I would do in every meniscus case. No, I'm just telling you what I did with this individual person and giving you a little snapshot. So it takes away you should do this if you had this injury. So it takes away that like point.
And that's you guys, that's like literally every niche. Like if someone DM me and was like, give me a social media strategy, I'm like, well, it fully depends. Like how many leads do you already have? How long have you had this community? Like what platform are we going on? How's your personality, right? Like what are you willing and what not willing to do? Do I need to come in and film you, or can you do, like, there's so many different like little situations that matter. Same thing for you guys. So like, again, you can change any language that you're not comfortable with, but also giving little bite-sized micro tips or exercises is massive. It's super savable, right? So it could just be like ACL pain or post ACL surgery, try this exercise. I know that performs really, really well. If I were you guys, I would just type in physical therapist or type in some of these keywords to Instagram or TikTok and see what pops up and see what has a lot of views or a lot of comments. You could even use those comments as some market research if you're like brand new as well. So like kind of thinking outside of just but you can also look at like what is working for others, and then emulate that format is like a really easy way to be successful. Yeah. I know we want to talk a little bit about call to actions.
I actually wanted to pivot you into talking about keywords in videos. So both Nisha and Michelle want to know about hashtags. So are we using hashtags? Does it matter more what we say out loud in the video? Does it matter more what we type in the caption? Like, because this is like the big thing that's changed in social media this year.
Yes. So hashtags are a categorization tool at best, right? Meaning if I'm typing in a hashtag physical therapy or hashtag NYC physical therapy, right? It's going to help you be categorized there. 3 to 5 at the most. You also don't need them, okay? Because just like Stephanie said, what you put in that caption is one of the most searchable. Also, the name field on your bio where it literally says name, okay? So you have a username, right? That's your @ mine's @ Janae Rose Official. So that's my username, okay? My name field where it says name, you are going to put in there your city, your main cities, and your physical therapy, right? Or if it's you have a specialty, you can also add it there, but those are the keywords, right? If it's knee injury, physical therapy, comma, NYC, because you're in New York, that's what you want to put there. That is the most searchable. And like, yeah, that's the most searchable section, I would say, is that name field. So that's really going to help with search. Okay, so yeah, 3 to 5 hashtags at most. Honestly, don't overthink them. The way we like to do them, 3 hashtags. 1 hashtag is about your business. Physical therapy, NYC, right? Whatever, physical therapist, okay? The next hashtag is about the topic of that individual video. Okay, so if it's about knee pain, I'm gonna put that one. I'm gonna put knee pain. And that is where you can do a couple, right? So if it's hashtag knee injury, hashtag, that's 1 hashtag. And then you could do your third as like hashtag, you know, knee surgery, knee pain, knee surgery, right? So I might do a little bit of variance there. That's usually like the best recommendation for hashtags. I just wouldn't overthink them. Yeah, the third thing you could do is you have one for your business, right? One that represents your business, one that represents the individual topic of that video. So I'm not going to put hashtag knee injury if the video is about a shoulder injury, right? Like, duh, I'm going to put hashtag shoulder pain, shoulder injury, etc. The third option there is that you can do something specific to the ideal customer, the ideal patient. Usually though, if it's like knee pain, like that's kind of targeting them as well. Yeah, again, I know like people put a lot of emphasis on what I call the mechanisms of Instagram, like the hashtags. They're not as important as you think. It really boils down to the video being niche specific, right? If all my content is only about it's about being a better physical therapist, right? That's not going to target actual physical therapy patients, right? So same thing, like if all my content is about the color blue and I'm trying to get people from the color red, like it's not going to help me. So you just want to be thinking about the concepts of your video and making sure it's specific, right? So yeah, I feel like people overthink that a little bit. What you have on screen, Instagram can crawl things, like it learns, okay? So Instagram listens to what you say, which is why I'm not going to say like, I just posted this video on YouTube Shorts. No, I'm not going to say that, right? I might say, you know, comment blank for the video, for the full video, if I'm posting somewhere else, right? I wouldn't say, you know, go to my website, www.physicaltherapist.com and book a session. No, I'm not going to put I'm also not going to put a URL or a website in my caption because it's not clickable. I'm also not going to respond. I've seen this before. Someone responding to comments with a website, www. That's not clickable. It doesn't help, right? So what you want to think about, how do I make it easy for the patient to find me off social? So go to my link in bio, you know, comment X word and I'll send you the link. DM me X word, I'll send you the link. Or like, hey, visit my profile, or hey, send me a message, things like that. Did I answer your question? Text on screen, that also, it matters, yeah.
I put House of PT's Instagram link in the chat as an example of the name bar with our locations. So last year when we opened our second location, our website wasn't ranking for Williamsburg. It was brand new. It was the first day that I added this new keyword on our website. But the second I added Williamsburg to the name bar on Instagram, now when you searched physical therapy Williamsburg, our Instagram was actually popping up higher than some of the bigger practices that were in the area. So Instagram has the ability to rank above other websites. So like for the smaller practices, or when you're opening a new location, adding that town name, or like I would never put New York City. That's way too big of an area to compete. But if I put East Village and Williamsburg, now I'm only competing with 1 or 2 different practices in the area. So, just I put that as an example, and I wanted to nuance what Janae was saying about potentially targeting the wrong people, or, if you're getting all physical therapists to follow you and you're trying to use this to convert patients, what we're doing on House of PT, like don't copy that either, because we're just doing it for community connection and exposure. And since Janae took over in the fall, I've had 1 or 2 physical therapists reach out inquiring about jobs. And what's really interesting is like we were just doing it to build up the profile, and we have a bigger team. And I was like, we have more people to get on here, so let's build this arm. But people are saying it looks like a really fun place to work. So the content that we're doing, if you're going to try to replicate that for your business and you're trying to attack post-op patients like Darren is, you're going to get other PTs. So also make sure that like your targeting and messaging is appropriate to your goal. And that's why I asked everyone what their goal was in the beginning. And I think I want to come back to Courtney wants to know how social media can actually help her get the patients she wants, like maybe not fully bought in that social media is the right place to spend her time. So she's postpartum, she's an ortho specialist. So postpartum, but from the orthopedic perspective, different than pelvic health. So any answers on that?
Let's see, postpartum moms for nutrition sport and runners. Okay, I would say right off the rip, the mom community, the postpartum mom community is huge on Instagram. That is pretty easy, in my perspective, to target. Okay, because you have keywords right off the bat, right? You have moms, you have postpartum. Moms love to talk to other moms, moms love to share things with other moms. Mom comedy accounts are huge, but also it's going to be, in my opinion, it should be pretty easy for you to segment and to attract the right audience because you have that really specific niche. And I'm assuming you maybe are also a parent, so you understand from their own individual perspective, which is a great thing to bring into your content that we haven't really talked about yet, is that like if it's the personal storytelling and relatability is huge. People buy from people, right? Like I could drive by the nicest PT office, but if I connect with a PT online because they've talked about like they had a similar injury as me and this is how they got through that, I'm going to feel so much more connected to them as a human that I'm going to trust them. And what does trust do? Trust is the ultimate conversion tool, not how many views. You don't need a massive audience. You need the right audience, right? You don't need a ton of followers, you need the right one. So it really boils down to like, yeah, what are your goals? I don't really know how you're currently getting leads. I mean, that might be something that you would look at if you feel like you're not, the business
Brand new.
fast enough. Right. Okay. Brand new. So you probably don't have a huge budget for paid, right? And you probably need patients pretty fast. So there's 2 ways, okay, that you can really grow that business quickly. The first is word of mouth, right? The digital form of word of mouth is social media. Like who in the last week alone, who has sent a reel or a TikTok or a post that they've seen to someone? Right? I mean, like literally, give me a hand. It should basically be everybody. Like my dad sends me links to posts about like dogs, and we like literally we have a whole thread. We just send each other funny dog memes back and forth. So like, and my dad's in his 60s. Okay, so yeah. And they have about 60,000 followers on their social media. And my dad, it's just to give you an example, he has an aquarium design and maintenance business and a brick and mortar, essentially fish tank store. You can go in and see all the fish and they grow coral and they do events. And it has brought in them so much business because just of that exposure. And now they're like a really go-to in the community. So again, this isn't just, it's not niche specific. That's the cool thing. And you can really find your people. And then I would say beyond that, like looking down the next 5 or 10 years, like if your goal is also to be able to step away from the business, you can't be the only person who's, I don't know, cold calling or who's running the ads or doing all those things. So bringing in like Stephanie, we bring in her team for the majority of the content. And so being able to like show how big the business is now, or you know, how you treat patients and letting people get behind the scenes of that, that is like such a huge trust driver for people, and you're probably going to convert people a lot faster versus just competing on price or competing on location. Right. So it really is like building that. I know it sounds kind of cheesy. It's like building community. This is where business is going. Like, I can't tell you the number of people that we have worked with who over many years, over, I would say 7 years, who have never had a physical location, and they have been able to build a really strong and successful business. Right. And the way they did that was through social. And so you have the benefit of having a brick and mortar, but can you depend on foot traffic to get patients through the door? No, right? And think about it, just take off your PT hat for a second. How do you make purchasing decisions as a person? Like, do you Google them first? Right? I don't know if you guys have noticed, when you Google things now, social media content pops up. It's almost at the top of that search. Okay, so SEO is very expensive. Good, I have another good analogy for you. My dad tried to do the SEO. He's paid an agency about $3,000 a month for 6 months. He has gotten more leads in that time through organic social media for free because he has a shop manager running their socials, and I just give them, content ideas and advice here and there. They've got more business for free than spending $18,000 on SEO. So like, also social drives your SEO. So like, there's just all of this crossover. I think it's really important of like kind of being open to new ways of marketing, and like social, it's only growing. It's not going anywhere. I think it's like, yeah, I don't.
So to summarize that, the solution is one of us needs to adopt you.
Yeah.
And then asking ideas.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
mean, I think it is building a skill, and that can be frustrating, and it stretches you, right? That's also why you can delegate it. But I also think it's important to, like, when you're thinking about this, it might not be an overnight hit. It can be, there's a lot of that potential, but a lot of it again has to do with like presence of like, if you're dry, lean into that, right? If you have a bubbly personality, lean into that. These are the things like we would tell our clients, especially in the beginning. You don't need to be a fancy editor. Can that help? Sure. Just because, again, like that slot machine mentality of swiping. But in the very beginning, I would just focus on, can I entertain people through trends? Can I educate, right? And can I use my existing patients and the things that they're going through and turn that into content? Those are the things. Like, again, if I'm looking for another example, like if you are looking for, I don't know, you need a new hairstylist. The first place that me and everyone I know is going is Instagram or TikTok. And they're typing in hairstylist Austin, right? Hairstylist New York, right? Because Google is all paid ads now. Like, right? Everyone's using ChatGPT anyway. So again, these are just things to think about. I know it moves really fast, but content creation is a skill that's going to serve you in your business forever. Because maybe in 5 years you want to go speak, and you want to, or you want to build a business that's sellable. You want to build 2, 3, 5 locations, right? The way people are going to find you is through that mechanism. So yeah, a lot of upside. I don't see a lot of downside. My perspective, though.
Before I ask for last questions, I'm just gonna like share personal feelings on Instagram. We are all professionals. We invest in our continuing education. That is always top priority, to go to conferences and take new courses, add certifications. I felt very silly in 2021 when I invested in a social media course, and I was sitting with my index cards and like watching these social media videos, and I'm like, okay, I have to practice talking to my phone 30 seconds every day. But in doing that, that's why I was asked to host this. So 5 years later, I was invited to do this because I invested in continuing ed on learning social media. So I think we just need to maybe let down some of the barriers of social media is for kids, or TikTok is for kids and it's for dancing. Like, there is a place for business there, and you can really mold it into whatever you want. And it is very low barrier to entry. The barrier is how much you're willing to practice and learn.
And having an iPhone. If you have a Google phone, you got to get an iPhone for social. I don't know what it is. They do not like Google Pixel and all that stuff. So I would highly recommend, like, get an extra plan. They usually give you a phone for free, run it through the business, whatever you need to do. But that would be like my other one tip, is an iPhone is king when it comes to social. But like, I just dropped a couple of content ideas when you were talking, because that is personal storytelling, right? So if your PTs are getting continuing education or you're getting continuing education, like take us with you through that process. If you're opening, also, oh my gosh, if you are opening a new location or you're opening a new business, take us through the entire process. Spend a day with me as a physical therapist and a business owner. Spend a day with me as a business owner who's opening up a physical therapy practice in Florida. Okay, those are easy hooks. And just take little video clips of your day. People are interested. Signing the lease, finding a location, buying the equipment, right? Hiring, like all of that stuff. If you are willing to show more of the process, people are going to get so bought into your business that they're going to not just come to you, they're going to recommend their friends, they're going to share your content, all that good stuff. And it's a little bit like secondary level, but what I would really recommend you guys do is like, go look for, you could type in small business owner to TikTok or like a day in my life, or spend a day with me as a small business owner, like type that stuff into TikTok and watch some of the content that you see that has a lot of views and a lot of comments, and try and replicate that. Like that type of personal storytelling is amazing to position you as the business owner, but also the physical therapist. And again, it's not directly physical therapy education, but it's person to person relatability, which is like, hello. Like if I don't like you, I'm not going to come to you, right? That makes sense. Like,
I'm shouting out Michelle because she just did that with the opening of her second location. And
amazing.
as uncomfortable as it was, she was
Yeah.
taking the pictures out front, videoing them, putting the signage up.
Huge. Love that. People want to support that, right? And so leaning into that narrative of like, I'm, female in business, maybe you're a parent, right? Like using all of that and your real true life is so powerful in content. And I feel like, again, I think sometimes people think it makes them not professional. It's the opposite. It's completely the opposite. People have more respect. They want to support. What can they do to support you? Even if they don't need you, they're going to send it to their friend that lives in that area. Like it just really builds this, life's hard right now. Everybody wants some entertainment. Everybody wants connection. So kind of leaning into some of those principles in any kind of marketing. Because I'll also tell you the best paid ads are organic, meaning they don't feel like a paid ad. They come from organic content. So if you're like, oh, well, I want to boost posts, don't boost anything unless it performed well organically. If it performed well organically, now you have an ad you can boost. Yeah.
That was really helpful because that was one question that I wanted to ask. So prove it organic for free first before boosting. I know that was a question someone had.
Yes. And I would also say, sorry, really quick, if you're trying to choose between Instagram or TikTok, Instagram's a little more polished. It can feel like it needs a little bit more polishing. So if you're someone that's like, I'm messy and I want to run messy and I can post 3 times a day and I just want to freaking go for it, start on TikTok. Take your best performance, put them on Instagram if you want to do that. Also, you don't need 2 platforms. You can start in 1 platform. Like it's not an all be all. Yeah. If you want to be on both, totally fine. But sorry, that's it.
Any last minute questions, thoughts for Janae?
No, nothing.
A
lot.
for
I'm
it.
a little overwhelmed.
No, a comment has one. You could come off mute.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Hi, my name is Akanksha. So I have a business started like last year in Hoboken. So my question is, I'm very like awkward when I have to shoot myself. And like I always wanted to do a day in life of a physical therapy, but I'm just like, I'm trying to, I want to do it, but I cannot do it. I'm like, oh, what are they gonna think? And like my accent is like not the best.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. The first would be with like timestamps, and you could use raw audio. So it's just essentially like if you are taking multiple clips from your day, so you're not talking into the camera, but it might be a clip of you talking to, one of your staff, for example. You can leave that in there and have like timestamps of what's happening through the day, so that it doesn't force you to actually do like a full voiceover, but it starts to introduce the audience to your voice and maybe get you comfortable with hearing it. I would also think like that could benefit you, because if there are other people, from your Indian community who might feel more comfortable, like I don't see that as a negative. I don't. If you feel like it's negative, that's, a whole other thing. But So I would do like raw audio, meaning you could attach a trend really low, a trending song to it really low, but then like do timestamps, right? So it's the hook on screen is spend a day with me as a PT, and then you could have like smaller text in your city or state if you wanted to. And then it would be different clips. And let's say it's 7 a.m. and it's a clip of you just like pouring your coffee. It's like 7 a.m. waking up, right? And then the next clip. And then each clip is maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds. And you just have timestamps. And you just, again, you don't really touch the audio because it's not you having to do a full voiceover. It's just whatever the audio is, right? So maybe there's a clip and oh, put that over there. I'll get to it later. Thank you. Like to the UPS man, right? Like whatever. So that's one option. The other option is with like a full voiceover, which would be you would turn off the volume of all the clips that you capture, and then you would essentially talk into the like compiled clips. So you might have a minute-long video, and then you're going to actually talk through, but try and tell a story. Don't just talk us through each clip. Like, first I made my breakfast. No, say today it was such a busy day. I had 14 patients coming through, and they were all consultations because we actually just opened our first location in New York. So hey, if you're in New York, let me know, right? And then you just keep going and you kind of tell a story about how the day was, and then, kind of wrap it up. Like, okay, hope you liked this. See you next time. Right? It doesn't have to be super fancy. Again, those are watchable because it's a lot of short clips. So it kind of has that built-in watchability to it. The third way that you could do something like that would be a carousel. You don't have to talk at all. Actually, if you want to, I just posted one of these. It was a day in my life as an agency owner. I posted it yesterday. You can look what I did there, and I just put like some photos. I had some videos because I did it like through the weekend as well. And I just made that in Canva. Really simple. So like you could do it as a carousel if you're not comfortable doing video yet.
Okay, thank you. And one more question.
Yeah.
If I have to do a trend, do I need to follow trends for US specific, or I can also do trends which are more famous in India as well?
That one would depend on if you are wanting community or people from India to follow you. Because if you again, like, or American Indian, right? So if that's fine, you could definitely participate in that, or if you feel like it, represents you and the community, great, do it. I wouldn't only do those. I might do like maybe one a month if that's something that you see, but I wouldn't necessarily make it the focal point. Because then I don't know if you're, I'm assuming your physical therapy location is in the States. So, but again, I don't know what that circumstance is. So I would just make that decision based on like, if you do have a lot of patients coming to you, from India, then yeah, you might want to participate in more of those trends that are trending in India. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Great questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janae. And I really appreciate everyone staying till the end. I feel like you could have shared another like 2 hours worth of masterclass with us. I put Janae's Instagram in the chat, and then also the contact email. So if you have any follow-up questions, you can use that email and we'll make sure that we connect you directly with Janae. Since you guys are still here, if 1 or 2 people want to stay on and just give me a little quick 10 seconds of feedback, I would love that. Andrew, you have given me lots of clips, so you are dismissed. Thank you for being here every time. And Jason and Julia, you are also dismissed. Okay, so bye, Julia.
Bye.
All right, Lindsay, I'm going to ask you. Bye, Michelle.
Am I dismissed? Should I stay?
You can go. Thank